Welcome back to the Relentless Minds podcast. I am your host, Lori Jimenez. I created this platform with a sole mission, and that is to inspire people of all backgrounds to create the change they wish to see in their lives and in the world by sharing the examples of those who are. As a listener, you will hear the stories of ordinary men and women with extraordinary stories of overcoming adversities in order to experience the life they dream of. All of these individuals share a common interest. They desire a change for the better, and they are in a relentless pursuit to create that for themselves. If you're looking for inspiration to overcome challenges in your own life to create a life that you desire to have, then you have come to the right place. You see, the truth is, people everywhere are fighting for what they believe in, and together, with relentless action and mental strength, I have no doubt that we can fulfill that dream. Welcome back to the Relentless Minds podcast. This is your host, Lori Jimenez. Today's guest is Consolee Nishimwe, who was raped and tortured at the age of 14 during the genocide in Rwanda against the tutsis, and due to this contracted HIV, which had plagued her for years until she was able to find the strength to live with her condition. Consolee had also experienced the loss of her father and her 3 younger brothers, aged 9, 7, and 16 months old. She was thankfully able to survive with her mother and sister, who provided each other with love and support after the genocide as they struggled to recover from the trauma and loss they experienced. In this interview, Consolee discusses the trauma and pain she felt as she attempted to piece together her worth and dignity in the years following the genocide, and how she discovered strength in sharing her story with other women, and how she believes in the power of vulnerability to heal our souls. Consolee's memoir, Tested to the Limit, a genocide survivor's story of pain, resilience, and hope, is available for purchase online. Without further ado, let's begin the conversation. Consolee, thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate that you've taken the time out of your day-to-day to sit down here with me. We're both in New York City, and you've traveled out here to meet me so that we can do an interview where I'm going to be sharing your story of how you survived the Rwandan genocide, and also of what you're doing now. So, you're a speaker on genocide, and you also advocate for other survivors. And I think the most powerful thing that I've taken away from you as a person is that you find such impact and power in telling your story, right? And the ability of that action of telling someone's story and your own story in healing. In producing healing. And so I'm very honored to have the opportunity to provide this platform for you to share your story.
Thank you so much.
And teach other people about that power of healing.
Thank you so much for having me. It really means a lot. And thank you for taking the time to come here. So it really means a lot to come here and speak on your platform. So it really means the world. Thank you so much, really. So I'm so honored.
A problem. So to start off, I read your book.
Oh, thank you so much.
I read your book, your memoir, Tested to the Limit, a genocide survivor's story of pain, resilience, and hope. And it was very moving. And there was it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot because I was walking in your shoes.
Oh, thank you.
From before the genocide occurred in your life with your family when it was complete. And how that experience was for you growing up, because you were 14 years old.
I know.
You were at the age where you were fully aware of everything going on around you. And I was walking those steps with you of the experience of the right before the genocide, at the genocide, during the genocide. And so I'm just very, very interested in diving into this story. I have some questions. I'm just curiosity of really how you were able to get through. But to start, because I want the audience to really learn about your family and how your family was. And so if you can take us to the life before the genocide, like how was that life for you with your family?
Thank you again for reading my story. It really means a lot. I know it has been really for me a journey of healing, a journey where I felt that I needed to share that life to everybody, to hear as one of the many survivors, to hear what I've been through. So like you mentioned, I was 14, very happy child, very happy girl, and with very fortunate to have good parents. As you read in the book, I was very fortunate to have a good parents, and my father and my mom and my siblings, being the oldest in my family, having a large family on both sides, on my mom's side and my dad's side. And always like anybody, whatever you're looking forward to visiting your grandparents, enjoying life, and just, all these small things sometimes we take for granted. So it was joyful for me. However we lived our lives, for me, it was a blissful life before the genocide. So as a kid, I would say I was really happy. And then I was really protected by that family. I would say that I was really joyful, child until in my teenage life. So my preteen before the genocide. And I have great memories that I cherish, going to school with my parents and coming home, and especially, sharing meals together, and all these, small things that sometimes you don't necessarily think are important. Now I cherish them more since I don't have that family anymore. And my siblings, each one of them, so they contributed something in my life that I really cherish now. So especially those I don't have now anymore. Even though they were younger, but there are things I remember about them. And for me, I wanted to share that part also to the people before the tragedy, before the genocide, because I had that family. We had, these beautiful moments together. So I wanted people to see that before they see, the painful part, and to see who we were before. Mm-hmm. So, and my parents were very affectionate, as I mentioned a lot in the books. They really loved each other a lot, and we loved each other, I would say. And every time I speak to my cousin, who always reminds us, say, we always remember about the affection your dad and mom had. Your parents were really affectionate and loving. So they were kind of like example to some of our family because of the way they were, to each other and also to us as kids. So I'm really grateful that at least the shortest time I've had with especially my dad, who is no longer here, I had that moment with him, to see him as a man who cared his family despite all the discrimination he was going through at that time. So as a Tutsi in the country. So
yes, the examples that you were giving of how loving your family was, your parents to each other, and your father with you, and your siblings, it was very moving. And I think it was a very important part because it, as we know, during the genocide, Tutsis were dehumanized, right? And so they were not depicted as humans, as people with like feelings, emotions, and desires. And in your memoir, you clearly were able to show us how your life was, with all this love that everyone had for each other and the support. And so taking us there, it was more impactful than, moving forward than going through the experience of the genocide. It was a loss for all of us. Like I felt the loss as well. And when it came to your siblings, your family members who lost their life, it was your younger siblings, right? Your younger brothers, and then and also your father. And when it came to, because I know the story, everyone else doesn't know the story here, but you should definitely purchase Consolee's book, and we will talk about the book, and we'll put all the links where they need to be so people can access that. When it comes to surviving, how did you guys manage? Well, first of all, actually, I would like to talk about the treatment. The treatment from the community towards Tutsis, because because you go very close and into the story of how everything was going on, right? And so when it came to treatment, the treatment of Hutus towards Tutsis, and the discrimination as a 14-year-old that you started to experience, or even earlier than that, what were you seeing growing up in your community of the treatment towards you as a Tutsi?
As you can imagine, I mentioned before, like being with the family that really protected me and my siblings. Despite all the discrimination we're going through, they managed to really give us a home where we felt confident and loved. But at the same time, there were things they could not prevent, especially when you go out and go to school. Like being a kid, I had to be in school. I had really to be active like any other child. So in the early times when I was in elementary school, I felt the discrimination because my teacher, who was standing, because this is what they were doing, standing up in the classrooms as a tutsis and hutus. So at that time when it happened, for me, I was a kid, I didn't necessarily really give it a thought about it because I was still young and I had to go back to being a kid again. But as a teenager, that's when I felt really horrified when one of my classmates actually bullied me in junior high school. So I really felt really horrified, and that's when I started feeling like being a Tutsi is not easy in the country. So of course I was hearing around how, on the radio, hearing all these dehumanizing languages, calling us cockroaches and all these languages that we are not the same as Hutus in the country, we should not be part of the society. I was so confused. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because at home I was being taught to love everybody.
Yes.
To care for everyone. But then I'm hearing something else from adults who are, telling a large number of people who are our neighbors, pretty much our neighbors who come, we share everything. My neighbors, my parents taught their kids in school, because my parents were teachers, both of them, my dad and mom. So they taught many of their kids. They are telling, hate your teacher because he's a Tutsi. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And at the same time, I'm grateful my parents really never allowed the conversation of fear in our home. Instead, they kept telling us to love people, to care for other people. And at least that helped me to go out there with other kids. Despite all these, discrimination I faced, at the same time, I felt really loved. And I wanted to be a kid. I never really had so much thought on what I was seeing. I heard before, so I never imagined that there would be a genocide. But at the same time, there were tensions everywhere. Tutsis were being discriminated everywhere in the country. You could hear some people died, some part of the country, because they were Tutsi. I mean, as a kid, it was really terrifying. It was terrifying, but at the same time, at least my parents managed to keep that things. Safety, at least a little in the house. Yeah. Maybe not outside, it wasn't easy, but at least in the house. Yeah. At least that I cherish that, even though I've been through, the most horrific thing after when the genocide happened. So,
and I have to say, when it came to the examples of being loving towards others, those principles and values that your parents instilled in you. Yeah. How do you feel like this helped you throughout this experience of the discrimination of being bullied, right? And that was another triggering moment for me, that you had a classmate that was your friend previously, and then because of everything that was being spread, she started to bully you and hit you.
Because that's what she was being taught at home by her family, that we are not the same. And she comes at school and bullies people who are Tutsis. And I couldn't believe someone who was the same age as me doing that.
With so much hate in their heart.
With so much hate in their heart. She was terrifying to me. Really, she scared me a lot. And my parents couldn't even find a way to say, hey, go to school. And because of the discrimination, they were worried. So, but they couldn't even find a way to explain to me that they can't do anything about it, except that they had to tell the teachers, don't allow the kid to sit maybe nearby her, but because at least I can find a way to be far away from her however I can. But other than that, it was not easy.
How do you feel about that now, as an adult, looking back? Because you were taught, and you throughout this period had so much love, right? It was all about, in your mind, really working hard on showing love and on not having hate. And the prayers, you guys were praying incessantly all the time to have for God to protect you and to give you the strength to still have a positive feeling towards others, right? That were causing these harmful things towards you. Thinking back, do you think this allowed you stay strong throughout this event.
Yeah, I think as I think back, I'm so grateful, especially for my mom during the hiding times where she kept reminding us. Of course, even before the genocide, we were taught to pray all the time. And then during the genocide, reminding us to keep praying and to love, despite, we're in the midst of most horrific thing, and we had the right even to be angry, to be, saying anything bad. But at the same time, I'm glad she did that, because it really helped me in my adult life after the genocide to use that in the way of my healing journey. So at least it didn't, when somebody asked me, were you're angry or hateful or anything like that, I didn't go there. I was more painful, actually. I was dealing with a lot of pain because of what I've seen. I wasn't necessarily like angry person because of the way I learned from her to see her being loving again despite the pain. But it really taught me to never allow myself to go in the path of hate, because she was reminding me that it was not going to help me in my healing journey, and the pain was too great to bear. But at the same time, I had those things that she taught me, and I carry those within me. So yeah.
And to give the audience, and I'm really happy that your mom set such an example. I have so many things to say about the example and the strength that your mom gave throughout this whole ordeal. And we will talk about that, because that is part of women in crisis, and what women are experience, and what they have to go through in these moments. But when it comes to the pain that you're mentioning, all of the pain that you were facing, can you share with us the most painful events that occurred to you during the genocide that you had to face, and you had to stay strong and try to continue life afterwards?
Right. Like any other genocide survivor, we've lost so many people. The painful thing is losing my dad and my 3 younger brothers. But being a teenager at that time and being a girl during the genocide, it was not easy. Being a woman just in general during the genocide, because rape was used as a weapon. So it was not easy for a woman to find a safe place to hide. Even if somebody was not committing the genocide killing, sometimes the person who hid you in the house was raping you. So, and there are women who will never be able to even say, oh, this person raped me, because he never committed the genocide. Nobody will ever believe that, because they will say, oh, he was hiding people, he was hiding you. So, but at the same time took advantage of hiding you and raped you. So, and of course there are many perpetrators who are killing and at the same time raping women and torturing them. So, and one of the most painful thing as a woman is to go through that among many women, and it's really painful to go through that as a young woman. Of course, with the help of my mom and everybody, so I had to never give up, and just to see that I'm one of the fortunate, at least, who because many women who were raped live with really big consequences. I live with consequences of being HIV positive, but I'm not as like many others who live the consequence. At the same time, they are not functioning anymore. So because they were destroyed completely, so they can't even function anymore. So
like the example
of like a woman who was raped and tortured physically, not only being raped, but they tortured her body to a point where she could not even like walk, even do anything on her own. And some of them, they are not psychologically able to function anymore. So because all of us don't cope the same way. So, and then having kids from rape, which is something that many of them couldn't even find a way to live with. So it was a lot of pain. But when I look at myself, at least having a mother, because I survived with my mom and my sister, at least I have somebody to lean on and on her shoulder and cry. So really, I feel like I'm fortunate. So I don't compare myself very much with them. I'm really fortunate. Despite the pain, at least I have the person around me to lean on her shoulder. Despite her, because she had the pain, was carrying the pain I was carrying. Because
the same pain.
Losing the 3 babies who were my younger brothers, and one of them she was carrying on her back the whole time during the genocide, and then having to see her daughter, her oldest daughter, what she'd been through, it was too. Even myself, when I tried to put myself in her shoes, I don't know how she managed to keep herself strong. I don't know if I was being the one to be a mother, what I would have done. So I don't know.
That's
and I
very
think
true.
about it. Yeah.
That's very true because your mom was very, very strong throughout this period, and having to be that pillar of strength for you and your sister, and then your cousin who ended up, being a part of the family.
Right.
And after the genocide ended, it was so painful. The examples of that for me, I was just very, very moved. And I was going to ask you what you may have taken from that as well. The lessons that you have learned from her being so strong. Because one thing I noticed about you is that you're a very happy person.
Thank you.
You seem like a very optimistic person.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And in that time, though, what did you guys do in order to try to be there for each other and to try to continue life?
Thank you for asking that. We lived together, as I mentioned in the book, my mom, my sister, and my aunt, and my cousin Chantal, I mentioned in the book. So just only women in the house. Sometimes people used to joke, like people walk in, oh, that women house. Yeah, so yeah, but we really support each other. We helped each other. My aunt and my mom really knew that we're raising teenagers who were so broken and painful in many different ways. And all of us were different in the way we were coping. So, but at the same time, they knew how to be there for us and to remind us, the way we should live, just not going on the hate, side, and just to keep loving. And I'm grateful that because not so many survivors had those people to be with them, to help them, because they lost the entire families. At least we had those 2 people who were important in our lives, at the same time knowing us very well and help us in that journey. Even though they were so painful, they were going through their own pain, but at the same time, every day they remind us that we are here for a reason. We are image of our families we've lost. We need to love each other. Yes. We need to be there for each other. Of course, it was not easy. As I always tell my mom, I don't know how you guys did it to be able to help us and be able to be normal. The 3 of us normal. I don't know how you did it, but I'm so grateful. Each time I speak, to them, I'm always telling them that we are so grateful. All of us tell them we are so grateful that they were there for us. And that's the reason why the 3 of us were able at least to never really do anything maybe harmful, because some people do commit suicide when you are painful. You may decide to commit suicide. You may do anything harmful to yourself. But I'm grateful we never went in that route, and I don't take that for granted. I think it's because we had them.
And your mom right now, she's still in Rwanda, is she?
Yeah,
with
she's
your
in
sister,
Rwanda. With my sister and my aunt.
And your aunt.
Yeah, they're old.
Yeah, but they're there supporting each other, which is so important.
And I think if my aunt decided probably to live alone, I don't think she would have been alive.
Really?
One of them would not have been alive now. So I think maybe for my mom it will have helped because of, having 2 kids maybe.
Yeah.
But for my aunt, I don't think she would have been able to really live longer. But somehow it helped them to live longer, to support each other. And they're sisters. They love each other. They really care one another. I've never heard them arguing. Ever.
Oh, wow.
Ever heard them arguing. They find a way to to speak in a way that is very incredible. Without me and my sister, sometimes we had the argument, but they were always saying, no, don't do that.
Yeah. And because I'm so amazed at your strength and your ability to overcome adversity.
Thank you.
I was very interested in asking you about your experience being diagnosed with HIV, because you were raped at 14 years old, and I read there you were constantly worried about this being a possible consequence. But you didn't actually get tested for it until much later in life.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got tested and you got the results?
I was around 25.
So you're 25 and you were living here in New York City, right? And so this is already...
And I was getting very sick at that time.
You were getting very sick. And this was 10 years, so this was 10 years after the rape.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you? Seeing, still trying to cope, still trying to heal, and then years later, then having this consequence from an event that happened a decade prior that you were trying to shed.
I was trying to shut down every memory, but it wasn't possible for me. And it was really painful to even see the paper finally, to see this is what you have, the consequences is real, so you're going to live with this for the rest of your life. It was really painful because I was trying to think. In my brain, I was always telling my brain, even though I kept thinking this is what I had, because I could see my body always, changing every year I could see the change in my body. And then when I got very sick, that's when it was really painful. It was really painful, but I'm so grateful for the people being around me to comfort me, to really tell me that, life is still worth living. Of course, being with HIV positive, it's not easy. Of course, I was going to live a different, my mind was always reminding me all the time that this is the reason why you take a medicine, is because of what happened to you. So it's a constant reminder. And I had to find a way to deal with that, with that thought always coming in my mind. How can I really make it in a positive way so that I can live a healthy and fulfilling life? So I had to look at the medicine as a vitamin. So I changed my mindset. So I say, well, because of course I think everything starts within your mind. So you have to find a way to heal your mind. In order to heal your body, your mind has to heal first. Yeah, so I had to tell my mind that this is a vitamin, so you are healthy, you are in perfect health, you are well, and you deserve to live a happy life like anyone else. And whatever happened to you should not determine the kind of person you are in the society. You are not what happened to you. You are a human being who deserves to be happy and worthy of living. Absolutely.
So you were telling yourself all these things in order to make yourself...
It's my affirmations, so I had to create...
That's really your medication.
My medication, right?
Yeah.
And no one else can do that for you except you. Absolutely. No one else can do that. I have to really... tell myself, because even my mom would never do that for me. No one else would never do that for you unless you're the one who really find a way to change the way you look at yourself. So
absolutely.
Despite what happened to you, so it took a while, but gradually I was able to get to a place where I don't see myself as a HIV positive woman. I see myself as a woman like anybody else. So
and you're here and you're happy and you're thriving and you're healthy and you're beautiful.
Thank you.
And that's all that it is. That is who you are.
Thank you.
But you are speaking to the genocide survivors, right? And so when it comes to sharing your story and when it comes to connecting with them, because rape happened a lot. It was 10,000 women who were raped every single day during the genocide. I know that you don't only speak to Rwandan genocide survivors, you speak to all survivors, but this is a common issue. So when it comes to you speaking to women and connecting with them, what is it that you've seen that truly helps these women to start to heal?
Thank you for asking that, because as you can imagine, speaking about rape, it's not an easy thing. For any woman anywhere, it's not easy. And for survivors, there's so many women who never shared this, even now. And for me, when I started sharing my story, I realized that it was opening doors for so many women who kept that within themselves for so long to want to share. There's some of them who are not sharing. So not so many yet, but they are sharing what they've been through because of also the stigma. There's a stigma also attached to rape. When you were raped, sometimes people don't necessarily think of perpetrators. They look at you as you are not seen as a woman anymore, so somehow everybody looks at you differently. There's a shame also. There's a shame, stigma, and everything attached to somebody who has been raped, and many of them don't want to share because of that. And it can be hard for so many of them to share, but at the same time it's painful to keep this within yourself, because it won't allow you to live well, to be happy. And also for the people who have done this to be the ones, I always say that as survivors who've been through this, we should not be the ones to carry the shame. Perpetrators should be the one to carry that shame, not us. Whenever I speak, I always tell survivors what it's been for me sharing this story and how it has helped me to start my healing journey, so that it can help them also to start that healing journey if they choose to share that story, and the world to know what happened, what women go through in conflicts and also genocide and many other places. And I feel like it's my duty to really do this, to help my fellow survivors and to be able to make sure that what happened, it won't keep happening anywhere. Because it destroys life. When you destroy a woman's life, you're destroying the community life. Because women really make the society be better. So yes, if you are hurting a woman, you are hurting a society.
You said some important things when it came to also the fact that by more women sharing their story, you're also bringing more awareness to an issue. And so when women are silent about the situation, it doesn't make it seem like there's an actual problem happening. But then by sharing your story, you are bringing awareness to that problem. And hopefully more resources will be available to support women as well. When it comes to like the story, sharing your story and connecting with these women, because, I'm sure that you grew up kind of learning about the stigma, right? Behind telling people about the rape that you experienced and the HIV. What was it that made you strong enough to go out there and start sharing your story?
It wasn't really natural for me to be able to share what I shared, knowing the stigma attached to being raped and also living in the continent and being HIV positive. For me, I think it's because of therapy and the people I've surrounded myself with who really helped me in that journey. If I didn't have those people, I don't think I would have been able to have really the strength and the courage to publicly share this with the people. Because when I've had those who have been around me and also doing, going to therapy, it allowed me to see what others are going through too within themselves. And I decided to be a voice for others. If I don't say it and have the courage to say it, how are we going to help our society? That's when I had the courage to share it.
Absolutely. And that's interesting because in order to have that psychologist, that help, and then also the support from your close friends and family, you still needed to take that step to tell your story.
But I had to.
Right? And so it's always that initial step to actually be vulnerable and confide in those individuals. But so many people don't have that, right?
They don't,
So, in Rwanda, in the aftermath of the genocide, was this an issue when it came to orphans that now didn't have their family members to speak to? How has this affected survivors in Rwanda or in crisis? Like, how is this inability to be able to speak to people, to have a family member and to express their pain? How is this affecting, would you say, those individuals from healing?
Yeah, as you can imagine, looking at the way the genocide really has affected, so many people. There are so many families. There are friends who lost their entire families. There are people who don't even have a person to talk to when it comes to a family member. So the genocide survivors really suffered within themselves with the trauma because of that. So when you're used to having a family member to go to, imagine like it's holidays, and then normally you go to your grandparents or you go to your uncles, but then you have to figure out where to go. Who is going to be part of your family? It's a trauma by itself. Beside what you've been through, that's really traumatic. So many survivors really went through that, but they found a way to support each other. For instance, like my mom, I used to have many of my friends survivors come to our home just to be, with us in our home and visiting us and share meals and all that. So, and it's part of supporting each other. So we found a way to, I don't know if you heard, there are some artificial families. People have created artificial families.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's the organization for survivors, where in high school, it started because of these, survivors didn't have where to go to. So the organization helped survivors actually to find a way to be parents to each other. So the artificial family, meaning I can be a mother to somebody who's the same age as me. It was because they somehow realized, voting for me, they realized that somehow I'm able to give advice to my friends.
Wow.
and help each other in a sense of like feeling like you have a family, even though there's no family, but it's a way of helping to feel like you're not alone. So if you have a wedding, everybody else will find a way to help each other to help you organize the wedding, and they will find somebody who's going to represent you on the groom side or bride side. So they have to create ways of supporting each other, because in Rwanda, family means a lot. So everybody loved that sense of having a family. So when we lost families, it was hard. That's the reason why even that thought came out. Everybody had to find a way that we have to really live normal, even though it's not a normal thing, but we have to find a way to be normal.
That's incredible. So this is this is in Rwanda.
In Rwanda, yeah.
They had what's the organization called?
It's called IRG and GARG. So I'm trying to say in French because they are more in French, yeah.
Okay, so this organization has created artificial families for these
high
survivors.
school. IRG is for high school, and then GARG is for university, for those who are in university. And then after university, and now some of them have kids. I mean, it's a way of supporting each other, and it made survivors at least have some normalcy.
I'm so happy that they've provided that sort of support, because the amount of trauma that one goes through during genocide and the things that I was reading, it is so, so painful. And packing on top of that trauma, like seeing your family members raped and killed in front of you, and having to live with those images and not having somebody that you can confide in or someone that you can trust and that can love you. I can't even begin to think about how one person can go on.
Yeah. Maybe one thing I can say a little bit about that, those artificial families, there were many survivors who were going through trauma at school, and having each other, it has helped a lot, because they support each other through that, because many of them were going through trauma. Sometimes they couldn't function. And this family, which it was created, will be there for you. As you said, anybody needs someone to be there for them, to confide in, or who understands you, who knows like what it is without necessarily you explaining too much. Everybody knows what you're going through.
And even like, support groups locally for people that are going through depression or people that are going through addiction, and being able to confide in somebody who understands that pain it's such a powerful resource. And something that I read in your book that really, really stuck with me, and I wanted to mention it, was when there was a widow who shared this with your mom. And she said that one of the most pressing needs that many of us, she was speaking about the women, the widows, the community of widows, many of us have, is for someone to listen to us about the different things we went through and to feel that others understand our plight. If we can restore our will to live, we would become motivated to do what we can to satisfy those other needs. Many of us have already given up and feel that life is not worth living. It continues saying there. That was so impactful to me.
Thank you.
Because it is simply a listening ear, It's like, listen, We just want somebody there to listen to us, who can try to understand or who understands. And just having that, she says that would, restore, that would help to restore their will to live.
Yeah. It's a gift to have that really listening ear.
And I have to say that, I'm happy you were able to have that. And in your life now, as an advocate and as a speaker, how have you seen, or how have you felt in your own healing? Have you felt that it has helped you heal to be able to be there for other women?
Yeah, thank you for asking me that. It really has helped me, meeting people who share story with me, and we all share each other, especially as women, share each other's stories of what happened in different lives, in walks of life. And I'm glad that I did it, because we need to support each other, we need to help each other. And I feel better since I started. I really love life. For those who know me, I enjoy life.
I see it. First impression of you, and I'm like, you are the most happiest, positive person I've ever met. It's absolutely incredible. You would never think that you went through what you went through.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It really, that's what I wish for everybody. And I wish for anyone to be happy, no matter what it doesn't have to be that you have much wherever you are, but just to be happy within yourself. I think that's the most important things, and I'm grateful to be able to have the strength to do what I'm doing, so that I can see another person seeing a smile on the face, and it really makes me happy.
And it's so empowering to see that. I'm so happy to see that, because you deserve it. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be enjoying life, and to be looking forward to your next day and your next opportunity to help someone else.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Another thing that really, the reason why I also wanted it to have the story written, is to make sure that also this young generation, even younger generation from Rwanda, around the world, because those younger in Rwanda, they're the same like anyone else here, so they learn the history, and I want them to also to learn through that history. And not so many of us who are same age, who are teenagers, who have that story written. So some of them, they start reading at the age of 12, 11 and all that. So, and seeing a Rwandan who is at the age of 12, 13, or even 14, 15, teenager reading the book, it really means a lot, because I know they are learning the history, and hopefully that they can make our world a better place. And recently I was exchanging messages with my nephew, who is probably 13, 14, and say, oh, auntie, I read your story too. Recently I read your story. I say, wow, yeah, it made me feel, wow, old, of course.
Hey, but that impact was made.
But I want to, it really, for him to have, also to want to read that story, for him to know that it's his family, it means a lot.
And I read it. It was very, very, very moving. I encourage everyone to read your book. And I'm going to leave the link and information for anybody who wants to access your book, for them to do so. And again, your book is Tested to the Limit, a genocide survivor's story of pain, resilience, and hope. I got it through Kindle. I know it's on Amazon as well.
Yes.
And I will place the link for anywhere else that it could be, that's available for purchase online. And I did want to ask you, because I also believe in the mission that you're on, about sharing your story and about empowering other women through your story and giving the example of your strength. And you know what else I want to say that's super important about when you share your story, is that in a way it's also a manner of honoring the lives of those that were lost.
Yes. I want to make sure also we honor the lives of those who are no longer here, and to share their stories. And my family and others who've lost their lives and during the genocide against the Tutsi, and also these women who were killed right away after being tortured, and myself. And when I speak, I think those women, I have them in my mind, that they are not going to be here to say what they've been through. I want to be a voice also for them.
Do you feel that gives you strength to continue?
It gives me strength to live on. I feel that they live within me.
Ah, that's so beautiful. I love that so much,
Thank you.
Consolee. You're so special. You're such
Thank
a
you. Thank
such
you
a
so
beautiful,
much.
such a beautiful person.
Thank you so much for having me. Really means a word to be here.
Absolutely.
Thank
I'm so
you.
happy that you came to share your story, to be honest and vulnerable, and to really introduce to us the importance of sharing the story and how that can lead to healing. And even, also being there for your family members, for those that might be going through a hard time.
Thank you.
And to listen to them. And it doesn't mean, having to have something to say. Just lending an ear.
Yeah.
And being willing to listen without judgment.
Yeah.
And that's so important for our audience, I believe.
It's a gift to each other.
It's a gift to each other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share about the work that you're doing, about the big dreams that you may have moving forward in your life, or just that's a message that you want us to really take away today?
Yeah. For anybody who's listening, all of us, have been through a lot in our lives. There'll be someone who's listening probably who has a painful story they've never shared with anybody, or they are giving up on life. I want to encourage that person to never give up. You are not what you've been through. You deserve to be happy, and don't give up on life, and know that you are here for a reason, and just remind yourself that you are incredibly amazing, and find someone to tell what you're carrying within yourself, and know that you are loved, and you are going to live a better life after sharing what you have within yourself. And you're going to feel the joy within yourself, and you deserve to be happy for the rest of your life.
Wow. Thank you so much, Consolee. That was a powerful message to leave us with, and I completely agree with what you have to say.
Thank you.
That is very, very true.
Thank you.
Be vulnerable. Find somebody that you can confide in and tell your story, because you will feel better. You'll feel like a weight is lifted off afterwards.
Yeah, you will feel like it's a load lifted off your shoulder, and you will feel light within yourself, and you deserve to feel that.
And if anybody wants to look into Consolee's book, where she tells her story in detail, we did not too much into detail in her story because it is available in a book. And her book is Tested to the Limit. Her memoir is Tested to the Limit, a genocide survivor's story of pain, resilience, and hope. And I'll make sure to include all the links where you can access it and purchase it in the show notes. And so again, everybody, thank you so much for listening today. And Consolee, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Or anybody who wants to also follow me on social media, you can.
I'll include the links to that as well.
So, but thank you so much for having me. Really means the world to be here. Thank you. It was truly a joy talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it and feel inspired and would like to be a part of the Relentless Minds community, you can join the movement for change on Instagram and Twitter. We would also love to know how your experience has been as a listener. If you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join us next week for another powerful story. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.